Okay, here we go. WCW nWo Thunder for the Sony PlayStation. Oh my gentle Jesus, how did it get this bad? So WCW nWo Thunder, henceforth known simply as Thunder from here on out, is named after the secondary WCW show that was introduced in early 1998 during WCW's dominance of the Monday Night Wars. A dominance that would soon slip away due to a number of factors, but let's not dwell into the negative just yet because, oh boy. Anyway, Thunder the video game is essentially a rehashed edition of WCW Nitro, released for the PlayStation a year prior. Nitro, for anyone who has never played it, is a game that featured wrestlers ranting and a rather interesting yet flawed hybrid combination fighting wrestling game engine. Thunder is pretty much the same game, except with a now updated roster, a couple additions, and a couple crippling issues. Thunder gives you 32 playable wrestlers to start off with, and you could unlock more wrestlers by winning various titles with specific talent, or you could just go the lazy route and just input a cheat code, which I would recommend by the way, but I digress. The default wrestlers have the trademark videos where they would cut a little promo on why you should pick them, or in Kevin Nash's case, not pick him. They also have these little 5-second entrance videos from actual Thunder programming. One thing that the developers added to Thunder was the ability to swap allegiance between stables, basically picking out whether a wrestler is part of the WCW home team, the nWo Hollywood Black and White, the nWo Wolfpack Red and Black, the nWo this, nWo that, the Horsemen, or Ravens Flock and stuff. They had a lot of nWo variants back in the day. There was the Midget World Order, the Latino World Order, the Handy-capable World Order. That's I'm straying a bit, aren't I? Yeah, I guess. Anyways, all this does, this allegiance switching function, is determine what wrestlers will interfere on your behalf if you have interference enabled, which I never do. But in some cases, this will also affect your wrestler's attire in some way, usually a change of colors or just swap logos or something like that. This is about as close to wrestler customization as you're going to get in this game. Much like Nitro, there are multiple modes of play in Thunder. You can go for a quick exhibition match where you can pick an opponent to play with, or you can go through a tournament to win a championship and possibly unlock a wrestler if you haven't done that already. Unlike Nitro, you can actually go for specific championships, and the championship you choose to compete for determines how many matches you have to compete in to win the title. So in order to win the world title, you have to win 10 matches. To win the US title, you have to win 7 matches, and for the TV title, you have to win 5. And the game does keep track of who's champion with a little title belt in the corner of whoever's champion. So this is a nice little addition, and it's no longer a total mystery as to how many matches you have to compete in to challenge for the belt. You determine that yourself. Good addition, I approve. In addition to that, you also have a Battle Royal mode that was introduced in the Windows and Nintendo 64 versions of WCW Nitro, which is basically a Royal Rumble match in all but name. 4 guys in a ring, you knock one out of the ring, another one takes its place until all 30 participants are involved, and the last man standing wins. The only unique match type in Thunder is the cage match, which basically trades in the paying audience for a steel cage that you could Irish whip opponents into, or climb up to do aerial moves. It's okay, but nothing special. It's just the same as a regular match except with no escapes and walls. Oh, there are weapons in the game, but I never really used them all that much. So once you pick a wrestler, you start your match. Obviously, the point of the game is to win matches via pinfall, submission, or even count-out. Each wrestler has a number of special moves along with a finisher that you can perform when your opponent's meter is in the red, and each of these moves requires some kind of button combination. It's nowhere near as convoluted of a system as what you would find in a game like Warzone or Attitude, but it's a move system with no in-game help on how to do these moves. Unless you have the instruction manual or look up an online guide, you'll mainly resort to mashing buttons and possibly do a move or two by accident. To its credit, Thunder added in a grapple function where you could grab your opponent and then perform a move, something that was missing from the initial Nitro offering and is a rather welcome addition, but you could also do these same moves without going into a grapple to begin with, so there's really no point in having the move in there. There's also another feature called a test of strength, initiated by pressing up and circle, where both wrestlers will grapple in a test of strength, essentially a tug of war, where the one that mashes buttons the quickest will drain the other wrestler of health while healing himself. I honestly don't know how a test of strength is supposed to hurt the other guy while healing you. It usually just hurts the other guy, but basically all one has to do is go into a test of strength and just mash buttons to drain the other guy of health, do this a couple more times to the point where he's practically dead on arrival, hit him a couple times to knock him down and pin him. There's no real reason to try anything else, and it pretty much breaks the game as a single player experience. For some strange, inexplicable reason, I find control in Thunder is less responsive than it was in Nitro. Some of the more simple button commands that could be pulled off quite easily in Nitro, such as pressing a couple buttons to pull off a power bomb, are more of a hassle to pull off here, and even attempting some of the more involved special moves seem more like a chore than anything else. Hell, the game has trouble just responding to simple button inputs, so punching is a bit of a chore. This is actually quite baffling because Nitro itself was actually quite playable for what it's worth, and yet when it comes to Thunder, they have all these bells and whistles added in and somehow made the control worse than it was before. It's rather strange and suspect. Oh, and the game still moves quite sluggishly. That's all I'm going to really say in that regard, because I've said my piece in a couple times already when it came to Nitro. Once again, Thunder looks extremely meh-ish. There's quite a bit of video here, either in the form of the openings, the entrances, the rants, a couple other things, and they're fairly decent, albeit quite pixelated quality. Pretty much the norm for PS1 video, I suppose. I will admit there are a couple nice touches that are prevalent in Thunder. When a heel, a villain, bad guy wrestler goes for a pinfall, the audience will toss trash into the ring, much in the same way actual WCW crowds would do during an nWo segment. In retrospect, we need more crowds like this in today's WWE shows rather than these smarky ones, but I digress, that's totally irrelevant. The other thing I like is that the arenas look pretty good for the most part, definitely a step above the previous arena set pieces from the previous game in my opinion. No improvements were made to the wrestler models though, they still move about stiffly, they look blocky and bland, vaguely resemble the actual wrestlers, everyone's pretty much the same size, just really meh quality here. Not much to the music here. You have the WCW Thunder theme playing through the title and menu screens. During entrances, you have an assortment of entrance themes with some covers that play during the intro videos. The rest of it is still generic sounding rock music that is just there to kill the silence caused by the bare bones commentary team of Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan, which is still pretty much just the quick clips and not much else from Nitro. Sound effects are there at least, they sound alright, but that's about it. Overall, WCW nWo Thunder is just a bad game. I wouldn't call it the worst of the WCW offerings on PlayStation because that's still yet to come, but it's still a pretty sorry effort if one would call it that even. Although I was able to get some mild enjoyment out of the earlier WCW Nitro, the same couldn't be said for its would-be copycat sequel. The additional modes don't amount to much, the attempted changes to gameplay have somehow made the game more unbearable than before, and the videos, while plentiful, really add nothing to the overall package. It's just a really superfluous addition, which is just about the one thing that sums up Thunder as a whole. It's superfluous, unneeded, unnecessary, unwanted even. I suppose if you dig real deep and are able to overcome the game's more critical points, you might get some mileage out of Thunder, but on the other hand you may as well just be playing Nitro instead. It's practically the same game, except older and better.